Most adults don't notice burnout when it begins. It doesn't start with exhaustion. It starts with disconnect. When life keeps moving, but you stop feeling present inside it. If you've ever looked around your own life and felt strangely absent, Oliver Shaw was 38, a data analyst in a quiet English town. He had a peaceful life, at least from the outside. A kind wife named Grace. A gentle teenage daughter, Lily. A small, tidy flat filled with plants Grace kept alive. Every morning followed the same rhythm. Wake, shower, coffee, commute, work, return, repeat. There was nothing wrong. And yet, Oliver felt a subtle ache he couldn't explain. Not sadness, not stress, not fear. A strange emptiness. As if someone had turned the volume down on his ability to feel joy. It started when Oliver stopped caring about small pleasures. He stopped playing guitar. He stopped cooking the meals he once bragged about. He stopped noticing the sunrise that used to anchor his mornings. Instead, his mind felt foggy, like he was watching his own life through a window. Burnout doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just dims you. One evening, Grace slid a cup of tea toward him and said softly, "You're here, but you're not here. What's going on in your head?" Oliver didn't know how to answer. Nothing was wrong. He wasn't overwhelmed. He wasn't drowning. He was simply fading. And that's what frightened him most. Not the exhaustion, the numbness. One Friday, after a long meeting, Oliver walked to the car park. He reached his car and couldn't remember driving there that morning. He couldn't remember the route. He couldn't remember the traffic. He couldn't remember the radio. He had been there, but not really. That realization shook him. Burnout isn't when you collapse. It's when you function so well on autopilot that you forget what living even feels like. That weekend, instead of pushing through as usual, Oliver made a decision he never allowed himself before. He would take 1 hour, just one, to do nothing. No screens, no chores, no responsibilities. Just Oliver with Oliver. He sat on a bench by the river. No noises, no pressure. Just water moving, wind brushing past leaves. At first, he felt restless. Then uncomfortable. Then something unexpected happened. He felt present. For the first time in months. Over the next weeks, Oliver expanded that 1 hour. He walked slowly on purpose. He ate meals without rushing. He said no to tasks that drained him. He stopped apologizing for resting. He allowed himself to feel tired, without calling it laziness or weakness. Grace noticed before he did. "You look softer," she said, "like the world isn't crushing you anymore." He wasn't healed, but he was home, inside himself. One evening, Oliver sat with Lily as she showed him a sketch she'd been working on. Something in her smile warmed a part of him he thought had shut down permanently. He felt connection. He felt pride. He felt present. And that's when he understood the truth. Burnout steals your ability to feel, long before it steals your ability to function. That night, Oliver stepped outside, looked at the dimming sky, and whispered, "I've been alive every day. I just haven't been living." And the moral settled gently. Burnout isn't losing your strength. Burnout is losing yourself. Healing begins the moment you return to even a small piece of you. The next morning, Oliver woke before his alarm, not because of anxiety for once, but because something inside him felt lighter. There was no sudden epiphany, no dramatic transformation, just a quiet awareness that he didn't want to keep living the way he had been. He walked into the kitchen and found Grace already awake, sitting at the table with her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. She looked up. "You slept," she said gently. It wasn't a question. She could see the difference. Oliver nodded, almost embarrassed by how unfamiliar rest felt. "I did, and I think I'm done pretending I'm fine." Grace didn't smile in triumph, or relief, or "I told you so." She just exhaled, the kind of breath people release when they finally stop waiting for someone they love to come home to themselves. "Good," she said softly. "Now we can figure out the rest together." And slowly, life began to change. Not with grand gestures. Not with dramatic announcements. Not with quitting his job on impulse or fleeing to some mountaintop retreat. It started with smaller choices. saying no to work he used to accept out of fear, pausing long enough to ask himself, what do I actually want? Letting silence exist without filling it with productivity, taking walks without turning them into step goals, listening when someone asked, how are you? And answering honestly. Oliver wasn't healed. He wasn't suddenly whole, but he was present. One evening, weeks later, he sat with Grace on their apartment balcony. The city hummed below them, faint, steady, alive. Oliver watched the lights flicker in windows across the street and wondered how many people inside those rooms felt the same heaviness he once carried alone. I used to think burnout was just being tired, he said, his voice quiet. But really, it's forgetting you exist. It's handing your life away piece by piece without realizing you're the empty space left behind. Grace took his hand. And now? Oliver looked up at her, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like a spectator in his own world. Now, he said, I'm learning to show up for my own life, not just the one everyone expected me to live. That was the real turning point. Not perfection, not productivity, not a perfectly balanced schedule, but presence. Burnout hadn't vanished. It never does all at once. It had simply lost its grip because Oliver finally stopped disappearing into the margins of his own story. And that became the quiet truth he carried forward. A life built on achievements means nothing if the person living it never arrives. Do you like what you just heard? Kindly like, share, and follow for more.